How's it going? It's Luke Slisky with Slisky Land Management again. A couple weeks ago, I had burned off a CRP field. I posted that video, and we've been working on it a little bit at a time ever since, getting some of the trees out of it. Just kind of as weather allowed. We got a lot of rain here, and then it was cold and rainy. A little bit of snow again. Now I finally got to where it's warm. It's crazy windy, but it's drying it out. But we finished it up yesterday and a little bit of today, and here's the second half that I burn off is this section here. And so I wanted to try something different in each half. You see, I've kind of got it broke up between this, I got this strip right here, and then this is the other half. Now this half here was very thick, had a lot of cottonwood trees in it, and you can see up in the corner here is a really big cottonwood, and then another one right up in here. Whenever this cottonwood flies, it just populates this field like crazy, and so we kind of constantly have to keep up with it. So this side here was really thick with cottonwood trees, so I used the polar, the tree post polar on the skid steer, and went through and pulled all the big ones. Now you can see, like right here, we've got a couple little ones left, and what we'll do is we'll go through by hand with the loppers or the pruners or whatever you want to call them, and then we'll just chemically treat them with Tordon or that Craig Harper cocktail. But this side over here, I was wanting to see how it would be running my forestry mulcher, drum mulcher on my skid steer on it. And while it was a lot quicker, it just, I don't know, I'm not happy with it. I wish I'd have gone through and done it with the tree puller, but I wanted to experiment with it, and now I know. And I know that's the last time I'll be doing that. So, unless I just don't have time. You know, time's a big factor with job and family and kids and all that stuff. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of little stumps in here, so we're still gonna have to go through and treat these. Otherwise, it'll be all grown up and gnarly again. So, what I did in that other video when I was doing the CRP burn, I think I explained it. We took all the trees that were out of here, which was quite a few, and we piled them up in this tree line right through here. So I've got a stand back in this corner. I've got a stand right here in this oak tree. You can see the blind that I've got right there, and then there's another tree stand just up from it a little bit in that blind, or up from that blind a little bit. And what I wanted to do there is I wanted to plug the holes where I don't want the deer to come out. So there's another pollinators field over there that belongs to the neighbors. They do not allow hunting for the most part. They've got a couple people that come in there and hunt a little bit, but nothing crazy. So the deer, it's kind of a sanctuary, so the deer had a hideout in there. But I wanted to manipulate where they come out, and I wanted to funnel them towards my stands more, to where I wanted them to come out. So we had to maintain this anyways, you know, for our maintenance, for our CRP plan, or for the pollinators plan. So we had to do it. So it's kind of a win-win. I'll go ahead and pause the camera here, and I'll jump in the side-by-side, and I'll take over to that side, and I'll show you how I plugged all the trails. We are on the fence row on our west property line. You can see right there, I've got my tree stand in the tree up there. And then this spot here where you see all the tractor tracks from like here to here, this is a 30-foot strip of pollinators, or CRP buffer strip. 10 years ago, when this field was still in ag production, this was enrolled, the very first thing that was enrolled in CRP program, and it was in a 30-foot buffer strip. So what that did was that gave us a trail over here, so the deer could walk up and down it, and then have the switchgrass on this side, and they could walk up and down this side and be sheltered from the field. Then we ended up enrolling the entire field into pollinators when that came around in Illinois, and it worked out great. This was up, needs to be replanted this spring. We elected to mow it off last fall, and then we planted, you can see down there, there's a lot more green. We planted oats, wheat, and cereal rye in it, and some other stuff, brassicas and things of that nature. That way we could just have a little bit more food plot. And this spot here, it wasn't a big deal. But down here on the south end, and I'll show you that here in a little bit, I think it affected the hunting a little bit, and I'll pause it a little bit later and I'll take you down there and show you where the buffer strip is there in relation to our food plots and what I kind of thought throughout the season, how it affected the deer being wide open. But back to the cottonwood trees. So you can see all these trees piled up here. There used to be a trail in there, but we went ahead and plugged it. And then I left this trail. Last year I brought my mulcher in here. I talked to the neighbor. I brought my mulcher in here and made a spot for the deer to walk through. It does have a couple of limbs in there now, but I'm probably gonna bring the mulcher back and mulch those up so it's nice and wide open. So that's like a 24, I think, some odd yard shot to that trail. And then it's got the cedar tree right there, so it blocks. So they come through there quite a bit, and it works out real well. So this will go, like I said, this is going to go back into CRP this spring. We'll plant it back up, and then I go through. It got kind of hit pretty bad in the last couple of years or whatever, but there is clover in here. I frost seeded it. I've been frost seeding it the last couple of years, and we'll keep doing that. And then the same thing, we got a trail that the side-by-side's on right there. We've got a trail goes through the middle. It's all clover. I think I'm actually going to work that up and put clover in my old Van Brunt drill and reseed that again. But yeah, you see like that. There's a trail right there, right between those two hackberry trees. Went ahead and plugged it. It's not horribly plugged, but it'll work. While this isn't the most appealing process to do, you know, as far as it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but this will provide great habitat. Here's another trail that I'm gonna have to plug up a little bit. I'll do some handwork on that one. Right there's a good example. I do not want them to come down. I mean, granted, it's not a horribly far shot for that blind right there, but I want to make it closer. So I got a few more trees I'll cut and put down there. Yeah, just manipulate them to get them closer is what we're doing. But all these little pockets of trees, it'll be great habitat for mice and rabbits and pheasants and quail and turkeys and stuff. We are starting to get quite a few quail or pheasants back. The last couple years we've been seeing more and more pheasants. We hadn't seen them here in central Illinois in a long time, but the neighbor over here just to the west where you can see his field, he put the pollinators in first. That's a 20, I think it's like a 21-ish acre field. We're about the same here, 21, 22, 23, something like that, acre field of CRP. On the other side of this timber is another 3 to 4 acres of CRP, and then you can't really tell it, but there's another field back here that's all pollinators as well, and it's another 9 acres. So with that, we're starting to see a lot more pheasants. Our hunting has gone up exponentially for the deer, and then yeah, pheasants, we're seeing 2 different pairs of pheasants on the regular. See them a lot during the summer, and then Dad last year saw 10 little baby pheasants crossing the road up here by our pond over here. So that's pretty cool. And then, you know, we hear them all the time when we're out here deer hunting. We'll be in, and they're constantly flying through here, flying between here and the neighbor's field and stuff. So yeah, so this just goes to show you. I think I might open that one up. I'm not 100% sure, but it just kind of goes to show you some of the fence, you know, how this was made into a pretty good fence. It'll funnel the deer to where we want them to. So works out pretty well. The deer like to cut through here a lot. They like to hang out in this little pocket of timber up here, even though it's right against the road, but they love to hang out in there, and they either filter out to the west through this funnel here, or they filter out through here. And a lot of times they filter right on this side of this hill here, and they crest up over the hill, and then they either go east or south or variations thereof. So just kind of glimpse up here on the north. I'll go ahead and pause it and show you a little more towards the south side. Here's another example here, south on the south half of the field. Still on the west side. I can see I'd gone through with my marking ribbon and marked all the areas that I want to plug up. These were all big time trails that the deer would come through. Now if you look up here, there's a walnut tree in the corner. And that's where I've got my stand, and that's my main early bow season stand. And even early into the rut, catch a lot of deer coming from the west here off of the neighboring properties. There's where the big property is, 240 acres. 2 farms to the west that nobody's allowed to hunt. They don't even allow people to go in there look for morel mushrooms or anything like that. So I catch a lot of deer cruising from the west. So that's why I'm wanting to manipulate all this. And like I said, you just see, it's a good example. We've been putting stumps from when we take trees out of our yard or out of the pond when we were doing the pond area. We had a locust tree here that we girdled and stood dead, and it finally fell down this year, and so we shoved it over. And like I said, while this isn't the most visually pleasing thing in the world, and I understand that, it's a purposeful thing, and that's why we're going ahead and doing it. So I'll park up here and okay, so you can see there, looking back to the north again, this first 30 foot here all the way to the road is going to go back into CRP ground this year. So we will have the, I don't know, I think it's like 12 foot, I think it's a bat wing width, 12 foot strip there to ride the side-by-sides down in the summertime and then walk to the stands easily and stuff like that. So like I said, and then this here's our food plot, the south part of our food plot. We got on the one on the west side or east side of the field as well. So you can see from the pollinators here to the white post is the food plot, and then it's the 30 feet over from the post, and then again it's another trail that we can access through, ride the tractor down in the summertime, access our food plots, ride the side-by-sides, whatever. So this is going to go back into a pollinators or buffer strip program. I can't remember exactly which one he's doing, but that's what it's going to be in. So with that being said, this buffer strip went in first, and it was a buffer strip the first time it went in, and it was big blue stem, switchgrasses and all that stuff, and it was great, absolutely great. It's 6 to 7 foot tall. And what I found a lot of times is deer would walk down this trail right here, and we had a lot more clover in it and stuff then, and get some good pasture grasses and stuff. They would walk down here and they would graze, and they had the timber on the south side of them. They had the buffer strip on the north side of them, and then they had I think it was like 20 some odd acres of ag field that they could filter out into and eat. And a lot of times, like, I'd be sitting in this stand right here. Like I said, that's kind of my go-to stand in the early fall, up to the rut and stuff. A lot of times I would find the bucks walking out to like right here, and then the big bucks would just stand right here and check out the whole field, and they'd just stand still for 5-10 minutes or whatever. All you'd see was their ears moving. So they love this buffer strip. And for the first time in 10 years, they didn't have it this year, and I just didn't see the deer that hung out in the food plot, or they didn't hang out as long. So when it started getting cold, I filtered down to my blind down there, and they just they hung out, but they didn't hang out near as long. It seemed like they just kind of went from the timber straight to the pollinators. They just felt a little less at ease, so I'm gonna be real happy for that to go back in. So the next round of cottonwood trees that we got to take out, there's not a whole lot left, but in some of the other ones, but whenever they start growing up again, I want to start working over here now. We had our TSI logging come through a couple 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago, something like that, and it opened up this quite a bit. They took a few trees out of this spot right here, walnuts predominantly. It opened it up a lot. So this was the main trail And then it seemed like all this stuff for the next 30-40 yards was all plugged, so the deer seemed to filter through to my tree stand a lot more. And even in just inside the timber along the ridge, there's about a 6-foot drop right there. They seem to filter through quite a bit, but when that logging come through, they seem to kind of spread out a little bit more. So I'm going to start plugging those up a little bit, start doing the exact same thing I did, making little piles for rabbit habitat and things of that nature. So I'll pause it for a little bit and take you down towards this blind. One thing I forgot to mention is this bottom ground property here belongs to the same neighbor that has the pollinators just to the west of us. That does not really allow hunting. I think his grandkid is starting to hunt here a little bit. That neighbor's what, 92 I think now, but he's very active 92-year-old. But his grandson's starting to just kind of go in there and start hunting and stuff now. But he had that property logged off. It wasn't TSI. He just had a walnut buyer come in and buy, I want to say 70 some odd walnuts or 90 some odd walnuts. I can't remember exactly which one. So there's a ton of crowns in there from all those walnut tops, and then the sacrificial trees that came with it as well. And the deer just go crazy. They're bedding in there like there's no tomorrow. So they filter out of there a lot. So you can kind of see some of the crowns in there that are on the ground. And then that was from the timber, or from the logging. And then there's a bunch of, we're losing a lot of our cherry trees. You can see this tree right here that's topped off, that's a cherry. I don't know if there's getting some kind of fungus in it, or I don't know what it's doing, but we're losing a lot of our cherries, and they're ended up on the ground. So again, there's the blind that I spend all my, when it's cold, or if I come straight home from work and I got deodorant and cologne on and stuff like that, I'll jump up in there and sweat. But yeah, again, the buffer strip that'll be here, and then just over from the buffer strip where the field kind of goes in a little bit, there'll be a food plot back in there. That's a nice little food plot. And again, these cereal grains, oats and rye and wheat, stuff like that we got in here. The deer are absolutely tearing it up right now. So here's my, like I said, here's my blind. I got the solar panels up on it. It is California compliant. Got solar panels in it. I've got an inverter, deep cycle battery, and an electric heater. My electric heater was a little undersized for it, so I'm getting a new one. This blind it was pretty nice. Like I said, it was pretty cold. It kept me nice. I got a couple office chairs in there. I got these from the Amish community. I'm actually gonna start making them myself, and I'll be posting videos of that later. But I've actually got a friend who's wanting one, but instead of driving all the way to Iowa to get it, I'm gonna make it myself. So again, here's got the office chairs in there. It got real cold there for a stretch, so I got the heater bodysuit in there. And then I had run propane heaters, but man, the condensation was absolutely terrible. So I tried not to run the propane heaters as much. You can't tell, I don't have my battery in here or my inverter or anything like that, but there's a little white strip along the ridge there that's got LED strip lights on it, dimmable LED strip lights. So yeah, so it's worked out pretty good. I got my bag in there, got my propane, got my shooting stick. These windows are pretty nice. I'm gonna do a little bit different when I build mine, but yeah, no, this thing, it worked pretty good. So. And then real quick, I'll jump in the side by side here and I'll show you the east side of the field and how it's pretty much the same as the south side. It's just food plot, pollinators, and buffer strip. Still more food plot, more buffer strip, and then trail to walk up and down and ride on, stuff like that. Again, everything's 12 foot, the size of our bat wing. You can see all the way up in the end there, we had some, I don't know if that was sunflowers or sorghum this year. So that's where that kind of yellow or dead grass is. We'll do some pumpkins. I'm thinking about putting pumpkins back in here. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that was our project, our current project that we're working on for habitat and getting the deer to go, stuff like that. So we got some CRP to plant in these buffer strips or pollinator area that I've been talking about, and then we got some food plots to plant. So I'll post videos of that whenever we get to doing that, whenever we piece together a couple of decent weeks worth of weather. We got a snap here where it's like 80 degrees, it's freaking hot. So we got that, and yeah, then I'll be doing the deer video, building that deer blind in my shed there. So I'll be posting some videos of that during, I don't know if I'm gonna do a few different videos or if I'll just do like just once I get it done, edit them all together and do one. I haven't decided what I'll do yet. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of piecing that one together during my free time, and I've got a huge deck project that or backyard project, deck, 2 concrete patios, outdoor fire pit or outdoor wood-fired pizza oven. I'm gonna do an Argentina grill or a Santa Maria grill, depends on what you call it. I think it's the same thing, just a different name. And then do some rough sawn wood wainscoting and some rough sawn wood caps for my retaining wall. Those would be locust. Honey locust, I think it is, the thorn trees here in Illinois. They last forever outside, so that's what I'm going to do those out of. So I'll be posting videos of all that stuff. So if you like it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Give me a comment. You know, if you've tried something similar and it didn't work out or whatever, feel free to give me comments. I'm open to trying everything. Everything here we do is, you know, trial and error. You know, get an idea, give it a shot, and if it don't work, fix it and go on. So don't try it again. So like I said, if you got any comments or anything, just shoot me a message and let me know. Thanks. Bye.